We have multiple updates to talk about in today's episode around Matthew Stafford and his current situation. I know it seems like a new story every day, but there are significant updates every single day, it seems like, around this story. We're going to talk about all of those. We're also going to discuss a situation with the Rams coaching staff. They brought some coaches in, and one of the coaches is tied to a name that may be floating around there as a potential free agent pickup for the Rams this offseason. We're going to talk about all that and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua. Remember, if you guys don't subscribe to the channel, do me a favor, press that subscribe button now, as 71.9% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. So do me that favor. Doesn't cost you a thing. Press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, I want to get into this story here. So, Matthew Stafford wants $50 million to play in 2025 as Rams trade looms. So very interesting scenario here for the Rams. Very interesting conversation to have, right? We've been discussing this for the last couple weeks, couple days. People are tired of it. People are saying it's clickbait. But the reality is, folks, Matthew Stafford has gone from the Rams starting quarterback in 2025 to now talking to other teams, having conversations with other teams, trade compensation being discussed. That is also a story that's been reported that there has been trade compensation in these conversations with Rams and other teams. They've been discussing what a potential trade could look like. And so this situation here, Matthew Stafford wanting $50 million, is the key to everything. It's kind of an issue that we're kind of looking at. And one that is kind of interesting to hear said from a guy like Peter Schrager. So he's talking on Good Morning Football, and this is what he has to say. This is nothing between them personally, right? Matthew Stafford and the Rams organization don't have a personal issue, is what he's saying. This is a money issue. Matthew Stafford wants to be paid what he thinks he's worth. He wants to be paid more than $50 million. And that's kind of the issue that we're seeing right here with the Rams, with Matthew Stafford, and why they're having these conversations about potentially trading Matthew Stafford. The Rams don't want to pay him $50 million. And we've been talking about that, right? If it's $50 million that Stafford really wants, I don't think the Rams are anywhere near that. I think hypothetically, for them to have gotten to this point, they probably are saying, look, dude, we get it. You're a beast. We love you, Matt. We wanted you to be our quarterback, but we just can't fit. We just literally cannot pay you $50 million. It's just not going to make sense for us. So to show you that other teams wouldn't even be down to pay you $50 million, go ahead and talk to other teams, and then you can come back to us so we can negotiate a realistic price here. I'm sure they've worded this differently, but that's kind of where it seems like the conversation is. So it seems like that's where we're at. Here's a story here to talk about as a key takeaway here. Rams entering critical window with Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams, and Stafford could be heading towards a breakup unless two sides can find middle ground on giving the 37-year-old quarterback a hefty raise. And I think that's kind of, again, a key here. Stafford clearly wants a raise. And for those who are kind of like, no, just, Stafford's under, I've seen some comments saying, Stafford's under contract to 2026. Don't even worry about it. Worry about it later. That is not a possibility. That is not on the table, just worrying about it in 2026. The reality is Matthew Stafford is in a situation where he's making this amount of money. So obviously it's difficult to see. I'll explain it to you. The top bar is saying 2025, 37-year-old Matthew Stafford is on the books. If you go all the way to the right here, he's on the books. The cap hit for the Rams, it's at 49, basically $50 million. His cap hit. Now, Matthew Stafford goes into training camp. He twists an ankle, hurts his knee, misses a few weeks, or misses the entire season. God, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But if he goes out for the whole season, guess what? Matthew Stafford gets paid $4 million for the Rams if he doesn't play a game for the whole season. Now, I know Rams fans are going to be like, cool, yeah, if he gets hurt, why would we pay him more? But the reality is Matthew Stafford's not playing under a contract like that. And if the Rams did keep him on the books the next season, he'd have a $53 million cap hit next season, right? So just an even more of a cap hit. So extending Stafford would actually help the Rams in terms of cap space. But again, how much further can you extend him? Can you extend him for multiple seasons? I just don't think that's a reality. Can you extend him for 2-3 seasons? I just don't think that's what the Rams want to do right now, not for $50 million a year. The cap hits will be a little bit better in the beginning, but it'll still be a pretty hefty price to pay your quarterback who is 37 years old. And I know a lot of people, just want it to be done and over with, but the reality is it's not done and over with. There's still so much to talk about. So the teams you'd suspect would have their hat in the ring have indeed brought their hat in the ring. So the New York Giants, a team very interested, the Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Las Vegas Raiders, and others have shown interest. So that's what this article is saying. 3 of the 4 mentioned, the Giants, the Browns, the Steelers, the Raiders. 3 out of 4 of those teams, which is the Raiders, Giants, Browns, only have a top 10 pick in the first round. And so that is not what they'd be probably willing to give up for Matthew Stafford. If they do give that up, they probably wouldn't want to pay him $50 million. You don't want to give up a top draft pick and pay a quarterback over $50 million who's 37 years old, right? So the reality is those two teams or those three teams may be like, yeah, we'll talk negotiations, we'll talk trade package, but we're only going to give you a 2026 first round pick. So if you're a Rams fan, you're going to be like, okay, could we lose Matthew Stafford and then we don't even have a draft pick to make up for it this season? Not really sure how many Rams fans would love the idea of that. And so that's what they're saying here. If that first round pick is in the top 10, as is the case for 3 of the 4 teams that they listed, would the Rams be willing to take a 2026 first round pick instead of one this year? And if not, how in the world do the Rams fix this situation with Stafford? That is kind of a highlight here I think I want to acknowledge, right? Is this kind of situation where the relationship needs to be repaired between Stafford and the Rams? I get it. Like I said, Peter Schrager has already mentioned that these teams, there's nothing personal here between the two sides. But again, I think the Rams got to be very careful here. I don't see how, financially speaking, are the Rams saying you're not worth what you're saying you're worth to us. You might be worth that to yourself, or you might think you're worth $50 million, Matthew Stafford. We love you, we care about you, but we don't think you're worth that. How is that not going to be taken on a personal level at all? And Matthew Stafford's a professional. I think he understands how the business works enough to know that it's not personal, but still, it's like, how can we not expect that to get to that level at some point? How can you fix this situation now, Matthew Stafford? Very, very intriguing stuff here. You guys let me know what you guys think. Do you guys, in your gut feeling, are you thinking that Stafford moves on? Are you thinking that they can figure out a way to make this work out? You guys let me know in the comments down below. We're still going to talk about this a little bit because this next story, we're going to connect some dots here. We're going to put the tinfoil hat on and we're going to kind of talk about some conspiracies about the Rams, the moves they're making, and what it means for their quarterback room potentially this next season. And so we'll start off here. The Rams announced 6 new coaching hires for 2025, including former Patriots OC Alex Van Pelt. So far, cool. Nothing really too crazy to talk about. Nothing really too interesting, right? Rams hired some coaches. Cool. Let's see who they added. Let's bring in the list here. And the list is as such. Some interesting names to acknowledge, right? There is some asterisks here to some names who are new, but you go through, right? Alex Van Pelt, the new senior offensive assistant. It's going to be his first year with the Rams. Drew Wilkins, going to be the pass rush coordinator, first year with the Rams. Scroll up a little bit. We're looking at Ben Kotwicka. We're looking at Jimmy Lake being in the first year this next season. So a couple names that are intriguing, but the one we want to kind of focus in on is Alex Van Pelt. Yes, he is the former Patriots coach. Cool, right? What is that connection to any free agent? Well, he does have a connection with a very interesting free agent, to say the least. Here is what Cameron De Silva had to say about the scenario. He says, the Rams have hired Alex Van Pelt, who was the Packers quarterback coach for 4 years when Aaron Rodgers was there. The Giants hired Chad Hall, who is Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law, as their assistant quarterbacks coach. Very, with a few R's, very interesting. Shout out to Cameron De Silva for breaking this down for us. I mean, so who says the NFL is entertaining in the offseason? I mean, this is interesting. Very interesting. We've talked about this, right? With the teams that are interested, could the Giants really want to go after a quarterback like Matthew Stafford? They're young. Maybe they want to build for the future. Brian Daboll, the reality is, Brian Daboll is in his last season as a head coach for the New York Giants, unless they go to the playoffs this year. And you can't go to the playoffs this year if you don't have a quarterback. And so Brian Daboll is probably looking at his situation out in New York and saying, I need a quarterback now. I don't have time to wait. Malik Neighbors is an incredible receiver. I don't know if you guys play fantasy football at all, but I've learned that from that for sure. But also, he's just an incredible receiver who seems to be able to make any quarterback good, right? You're making the quarterbacks you've had in New York look good, or you've been putting up stats regardless of the quarterbacks that you had last year in New York. You're a pretty good receiver. So we have a good receiver. Tyrone Tracy has been an okay running back. The defense has been pretty solid, actually, for the Giants. At least not horrible, right, at times for the Giants. So very interesting stuff. If you're Brian Daboll, you might be actually going all in, quote unquote, right? And you don't really want to trade that top 10 pick in the draft. But if you can convince the Rams to let go of Matthew Stafford for a 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick, or next year's 1st round pick and something else, and you get Matthew Stafford, I don't see how the Giants aren't kind of salivating at that idea. And so they're going out there and they're saying, Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law, welcome to our coaching staff. The Rams, on the other hand, are saying, oh, it's kind of intriguing. It's kind of interesting. I kind of want a first-round pick. I don't think Stafford's going to do anything with the Giants. They're going to be bad next year, too. They're going to be a top 10 to 15 pick again next year. Let's take next year's first-round pick and get a top 5 to 10 to 15 first-round pick because we don't think Stafford's going to succeed in New York. And let's go take that deal and have a good draft pick next season. I'm not saying that's how they're thinking. I'm just saying that you can kind of connect the dots. And if we lose Stafford, well, let's bring in Alex Van Pelt. Let's bring in someone who has a familiar relationship with quarterback Aaron Rodgers because he's going to be that target. Fans are going to be upset. Rams fans are going to be upset. Oh, we need to compete now. Why would you trade Matthew Stafford? Well, here's legendary Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers walking through the door, 2 years removed from his Achilles injury. So you can kind of start connecting these dots. I know it seems a little crazy and seems a little wild, but you can start the reason why people are saying trade bait or clickbait and, that I'm just spewing random things on here, but there's some real truth, some weight behind some of these small stories, guys, and we got to pay attention to them because the reality is it's not a fun reality, but Rams could very well potentially lose Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp both in this offseason, and I don't necessarily think it'll be a bad move for the Rams. I just find it very, very intriguing. I know a lot of Rams fans don't want to hear not competing next year or not having Matthew Stafford next year because he's their best option at quarterback. I get it. I agree he's the best option at quarterback, but I think there are some business decisions that the Rams can make that could be good for them long term. If you get a couple first-round picks, right, could be good for them long term for their franchise rebuilding moving forward. So that's why they should and probably are very intrigued at the idea of kind of rebuilding the team altogether in terms of trading Stafford and Kupp. So very, very interesting stuff. You guys let me know how you guys feel about all of it down below in the comments. We're going to move on. Before we get out of here, we're going to talk about the trivia of the day. For those who have never been here for trivias of the day, we do this every single episode that I'm on here at the Rams Digest, so make sure you guys play along on every single one of my videos. You guys can look at yesterday's trivia of the day as it was, as a player, former NFL coach Jack Del Rio made the Pro Bowl at what position? That was trivia of the day number 11. Few people guessed, few people played along, had some fun with it. If you guys want to play it today, you guys can play after we kind of give a shout out to these guys who got it right. But the ones who did get it right were these three gentlemen here. Or I think gentlemen, I don't know why I'm assuming, but these three folks here, they gave their guesses and they said, Daniel, shout out to Daniel, who's been playing the last couple of trivia games. He says he made it as a linebacker. Daniel, that was a great guess there. We had Floyd saying Jack Del Rio was a linebacker for the Cowboys, and Ben Sanchez saying middle linebacker. Ding, ding, ding. All of you guys were correct. I hate when I do that. All of you guys were correct. Jack Del Rio was a linebacker in the NFL when he was a player. I always find it interesting thinking about coaches like that. Like Jack Del Rio, I couldn't even imagine him being a player, right? Obviously now, since I've watched football my whole life, he's always kind of been a coach. So seeing him with pads and helmet on, it just kind of blows my mind a little bit. There's many coaches like that who have had a past playing football, and I'm always like so shocked to learn it. Especially some names, obviously more shocked than others, but I digress. Last but not least, for the day, we're going to give the trivia of the day for today. So if you guys have never played along, you can play along right now. Here we go. Trivia of the day number 12. Before relocating to its present home city of Washington, D.C., the Washington Commanders franchise was based in what city? So before relocating to the present city of Washington, D.C., where were the Commanders previously based? And I can give you guys multiple choice in a second, but right now I want to give you guys a second to think about this naturally. No multiple choice options. Give a guess. See what you guys are thinking down below, or at least think about it, and then I'll confirm it with the multiple choice maybe. Give your guesses right now down below in the comments. I'll give you multiple choice right here. Before relocating to its current home city, I don't know why I can't read, to its present home city of Washington, D.C., the Commanders franchise was based in what city? Was it A, Chicago? Was it B, Louisville? Was it C, Atlanta? Or was it D, Boston? Make your guesses down below. Chicago, Louisville, Atlanta, or Boston. You guys give your guesses down below. If you guys get it correct or incorrect sometimes, I'll actually give you a shout out for playing along with the trivia of the day on next episode. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and press that subscribe button before you go. That's going to do it for me today on today's episode. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.